for attending this presentation on Statistic Canada's Longitudinal Social Data Development Program. My name is Jenneke Moullec, Chief of the Longitudinal Social Data Development Program, a research and development program at Statistics Canada. Today, I'm going to share a bit about the modernization journey that we are on. To begin, I'll provide a description of what the Longitudinal Social Data Development Program, or LSDDP, is. Following this, I will briefly describe the need, the impetus, or in other words, the demand for this innovation work. I will also discuss the backdrop or context that we are working within, then information on current activities that we have underway. Finally, some information on where we think we are headed. With that, a little bit about what the LSDDP is and what it is not. The LSDDP is centered on a linkable, pseudo-anonymized administrative data-first approach to social research, an approach which builds on the many existing activities flowing out of the SDLE, or social data linkage environment, but with a more systematized, deliberate, and replicable approach, a set of analytical tools and processes. This initiative is not about building a large integrated database. Of note, the LSDDP is also not considered evergreen. Currently, the LSDDP includes the reference period of 2005 to 2015. There is certainly the opportunity to expand this as required. It currently includes the following 7 life domains: work, education and human capital, economic well-being, family, crime and victimization, health and well-being, and immigration. These may also be open to expansion. So now I will be describing the need. We define this need across 2 interrelated streams. Here, life course analysis. On the next slide, intersectional measures. We know that there are significant social crises and issues facing society, harming certain populations more than others. Consider suicides, vaping injuries, natural disasters, housing, poverty, increasingly antisocial behaviors, the increasingly aging population, violence, water quality, cancer, and opioids. We know these crises are complex and involve multiple interrelated forces that develop over time, such as a storm. Identification of the most vulnerable populations and early intervention points is key. What if, for example, we could take a cohort of those experiencing an opioid overdose and define longitudinal multi-domain data? What if we could see common trajectories or series of events leading up to an opioid overdose and who the at-risk population is for this? This is what we call life course analysis. It focuses on trajectories taken by individuals in cohorts through various life domains. Life course is a powerful analytical tool that can focus attention on the interrelationships among social domains, as well as the temporal patterning of lives. Trajectories can be described, uses predictors, and to determine effects. To summarize, what is a necessity? Why do we need life course analysis? Well, for Statistics Canada, this responds to the international call for better social measures. That is the increased emphasis on holistic, multidimensional, and intersectional measurement of society over time. For stakeholders, this aids in staying upstream of social issues and in the identification of intervention points. And for Canadians, this leads to proactive, not reactive, well-being policies and programs. Secondly, better intersectional measures. Further addressing the fact that social phenomenon, issues, and crises are more complex and involve multiple interrelated forces that develop over time, what if we could develop a set of well-being measures or indicators that could be applied to a cohort, such as, again, people experiencing opioid overdoses? What if these measures could take the well-being pulse and describe the cohort and their situation? To this effect, the OECD recently recommended a dashboard of key social indicators to assess a country's health and people's conditions that encompass the most important dimensions of people's lives, such as skills, health, jobs, and income, as well as economic security, environmental degradation, and trust. It asserts that more granular data is required to capture the diverse situations of different groups of the population. Using the puzzle pieces as a metaphor, the reality of social situations of social disadvantage is made up of many interconnected pieces. This slide demonstrates why the information must be linkable at the individual level and clustered into groups of similar individuals for analysis. It's distinctly this linkability at the person level which allows for the development and analysis of cross-domain social indicators. Of course, the method by which this can be accomplished is record linkage. The gray area at the top denotes more typical practices. We collect survey or administrative data in particular on particular areas, and then we aggregate them. This gives us the average level of various indicators such as socioeconomic status, education status, and health status for the population or the subpopulation of interest. The bottom half of the slide in white demonstrates the effectiveness of linkage in developing more granular data that captures the diverse situations of different groups of the population. In this case, anonymized individuals are grouped and aggregated with similar individuals to appropriately identify the intersection of their situations to better target interventions, policies, programs, etc. And now I'm going to move to discuss the backdrop for this work. Statistics Canada has a long and reputable history of data linkage. The established social data linkage environment, or SDLE, for which LSDDP activities are predicated on, offers the following: a secure virtual linkage environment that stores only personal identifiers in a protected depository that is used to generate linkage keys across data sources. It is important to note that the keys are stored apart. The SDLE offers strong governance and adheres to policy and privacy requirements. It's a suite of services, tools, and supports. And finally, the SDLE is not a large integrated database of information about individuals. The LSDDP utilizes standard Statistics Canada data stewardship practices. It is subject to all relevant acts, policies, directives, guidelines, and principles, which include, but are not limited to, the following: the Statistics Act, the Privacy Act, the Generic Privacy Impact Assessment, the Social Data Linkage Environment, Privacy Impact Assessment, the LSDDP Supplementary Privacy Impact Assessment currently under development, the Directive on Microdata Linkage, Information Technology Security Requirements, Information Management Requirements, recommendations from the Data Ethics Committee, and recommendations from the Advisory Committee on Statistical Methods. And now, our current activities. We are looking to refine an algorithmic administrative population universe capable of defining an in-scope population. A proposal for developing an algorithm scalable to multiple cohorts and reference periods to be applied on an as-needed basis. This universe would allow for population statistics, including those who did and did not interact with the administrative databases in question. The algorithmic universe would also include harmonized demographic information. Algorithmic social indicators will also be developed. Using signals from a set of administrative data sources, indicator algorithms, which can be applied at the microdata level, will be developed. These would be applied to cohorts on demand for use in life course and intersectional research. We are currently considering the development of an employment indicator, which would have application in analysis, as well as small area estimation and calibration. The opioids data development and analytical file. The LSDDP is being leveraged to develop a longitudinal analytical file of fatal and non-fatal opioids cases. Trajectory and cluster analysis may also be undertaken on this cohort. A key part of the R&D work LSDDP is undertaking will look at the challenge of how can large linked administrative data best be employed in life course analysis. This challenge involves addressing statistical methods, data structure, and data editing activities. To this end, we're collaborating with certain experts at McGill University in Canada, addressing this set of challenges. And finally, where are we headed with this project? Key to its success is seeking user feedback and validation. We need the feedback loop to understand what it is we are doing well and where we need to improve. We are working with our IT colleagues to better define our IT requirements and determine how they are best met. And finally, given the potential of LSDDP and what it has uncovered thus far, we are developing a strategy to move into an established program. This would include, amongst others, the development of a communication strategy. I thank you for attending this presentation.